iPad Tips and Tricks. This program is brought to you by the studio at the Sachem Public Library in Holbrook, New York. To learn more about the studio and the services we provide, visit us at sachemlibrary.org/services-resources/studio. You can also contact us via email at studio@sachemlibrary.org or give us a call at 631-588-5024, extension 230. Hi, this is Chris from the studio at the Sachem Public Library. Today we are going to demonstrate iPad tips and tricks. This iPad is an iPad Pro 12.9-inch 3rd gen, so it doesn't have a home button, but I will reference when a home button would be used if you're using that model of iPad. At the time of this recording, this iPad is running iPad OS 14.6. As newer versions of iPad OS are released, some of the functions I'm demonstrating may change. Ready to get started? Let's go. The first tip I'd like to discuss is gestures. So what we're going to talk about first is access to the app switcher. So I'm going to make references to swiping up and swiping down and doing all these other crazy things on the screen. So play along with me as we go through these steps. So the app switcher allows you to switch between apps that are running. So to do that, take your finger and swipe up from the bottom, and you'll see all of the apps that are currently open. When this happens, you can then select another app and then open that app. So if I'm pulling up and then touching different apps that are running in the background. And then to go back home, you simply swipe up, or if you have an iPad with a home button, then you just press the home button. If you are using an iPad with a home button, the same function can happen when you double tap that home button. All of the apps will then appear. Next function I would like to show you is something called Control Center. Control Center is actually a really cool shortcut to get access to some of the functionalities within your device. So regardless of which iPad you have, if you put your finger and swipe down from the top right corner of your screen, you will see this menu come up. This is customizable, and you can have different functionalities here when you are using Control Center, but this allows you to lock your rotation or to turn on Do Not Disturb, to go into airplane mode, turn on or off your Wi-Fi or your Bluetooth, control any music that may or may not be playing, control your screen brightness, and the volume of any headphones that are plugged into your device. It also gives you quick access to your camera, and also gives you quick access to your timers and your flashlight if your iPad has a flashlight, and a whole bunch of other functionality. So that is your Control Center. The next item I'd like to show you is your notifications. This is something that you control in settings, where apps give you information or notify you when something has happened, whether you get a text message or whether something happens in an app that they feel the need to notify you about. So what you do, instead of swiping from the right-hand side for Control Center, you swipe from the left-hand side and this menu appears. Kind of looks like your home screen or your lock screen, but this gives you information. So for me, it's telling me my Do Not Disturb is on. That's because I'm recording this for you and I don't want to be interrupted while recording. It's also showing that my screen recording is on, which means I'm recording this for you so you can see this as a class. And then there's something called Many Thing, which is something I use for security cameras. The next function I'm going to show you is how to search your iPad. So why would you want to do this? Let's say you have lots and lots of screens of apps and you don't want to scroll around to try to find which app you're looking for, or you want to search for something on the web. There is a quick way to do that. So if you take your finger, not swiping from the top, but putting your finger in between apps and just giving a quick pull down, you will get, a search function. So let's say I'm looking for the Libby app. If I type Libby, there it is. I touch it, and now it opens. You can only do this search feature when you're in one of your home screens. So again, it's pulled down from just the center or anywhere where there isn't an app. You can then see Siri suggestions where it's giving you a suggestion of apps that are running, that you've run a lot. It'll give you a suggestion with regard to texting someone, if you've texted someone a lot, or some apps that you've used in the past. What's really cool is you can tap the microphone and you can speak to your iPad and search for something, and it should come up. So, okay, this next function is really a pretty simple, basic function, but I would be remiss if I didn't bring it up. So we want to talk about how to get back to your home screen. So let's say I'm in an app and I'm doing stuff and I want to get back to my home screen. If you have an iPad with a home button, just simply press that button once and it should bring you home. And if you're using one of the newer iPads without any home buttons on them, just take your finger and swipe up. Swipe up really quickly and flick it up, and it brings you back to the home screen. Now, if you're in an app and you slowly drag up, you're going to be dragging that app open, and then you're going to see everything that's open on your device. So the trick with this is swiping up quickly. Another thing that this does too is if you're somewhere else on one of your home screens and you swipe up quickly, it brings you back to your first home screen. So that's a little quick tip for people who have iPad Pros or iPads with no home button. Okay, so this next one is something that baffles some people and annoys some people. Sometimes you'll see people shaking their iPad because they want to change their orientation. So what does that mean? So right now we're looking at my iPad and we are in what's called landscape, where where your iPad is facing, so the longer sides of the iPad are horizontal and the shorter sides are vertical. Now, let's say you're reading a book and you'd rather read it on an iPad, maybe you're using Libby or Kindle or the Apple Books app, and you want to turn your iPad so it is more vertical, where the horizontal lines are the short ends of your iPad and the vertical lines are the long side. All you need to do is, first of all, make sure in the control center that your lock rotation, which is this right here, is not turned on. And once that happens, all you need to do is turn your iPad sideways, and now it changes orientation. Now, let's say you prefer having it in one particular way. Um, then I'm just going to go back here, go to Control Center, and hit Lock Rotation. So now Lock Rotation is on. So I know you can't see this, but I'm turning my iPad all around, and nothing is happening. So that's a nice way to lock that orientation, because you may have a feeling that you like it one way or another, or maybe you have a keyboard attached to your device and you don't want it to flip when you're using the keyboard. People have all kinds of preferences, both yay and nay, on having lock rotation on or off. But again, it's your preference, and that's really how you control it. So the next few tricks I'm going to show you are regarding multitasking. So what does multitasking mean? Multitasking is basically the concept of doing two things at the same time. It's a crazy world that we live in nowadays. We're kind of used to this. And if you've used a Windows PC, you know that you can open multiple windows and have them side by side and kind of look back and forth. Some people even have a two-screen setup at home if they have a desktop computer. So what I'm going to do is show you how to have more than one window open at a time. So first we're going to open an app like Google, and then we're going to drag another app open. Oops, I'm going to actually go back to Google. So I'm going to just pull up this docking station, and what I'm going to do is grab another app. We'll grab the calendar. What I'm going to do, oops, come on, is just drag it up. And now it's a floating window on top of this other window. So what you can do is move it around, and you can see what's happening in case you need to do something quick. And then when you're done, you can literally flick it away if it wants to. So I just flicked it to the right, and now it's gone. So that's really handy as a floating screen. Now, if you wanted to actually lock that in place where you had two screens together, what we can do is go back to, oops, not that. We don't want to use that. We're going to use Google, and let's go to Libby. We're going to grab that, drag it up, and now I'm moving it all the way to the side. So now you see there's a separation between the two screens. And now both screens are locked, and you can control the size of each screen just by taking that middle line and, oops, come on, and dragging it. So you can make Google smaller and Libby bigger. You can make it equidistant, or you can slide it off to the right to make Libby smaller. This will work with most apps that you have on your device. The trick is they have to be in your floating dock first. So depending on how you have that configured, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, what you can do is that the last three apps on the right-hand side for this particular iPad shows the last three apps that were open. So you can drag them, or you can add apps to this dock. So it's just a matter of preference, but this is how you can multitask by having two windows open at the same time. Now let's say you're done with Libby and you don't want to have it open anymore. Grab that line, pull it all the way to the edge, and now you're back to your single screen for the original app you were working with. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is something that has been added to the Apple biosphere or the Apple world in iOS 13, and now or in iPad OS 13, which is we're now in iOS 14 or or iPad OS 14, and that is widgets. People say to me all the time, Chris, what is a widget? A widget kind of exists on your home screen independent of each one of the apps that appear on your home screen. So I'm just going to slide my screen over because I have it set that way. And these are widgets. So they're actually displaying things that are actually showing up on that I'd like to actually see on the screen. So widgets are pretty simple to set up, and it's pretty easy to control them too. So let's go ahead and show you how to add a widget. Now, not every app has a widget, so be mindful of that. But what we're going to do is we are going to either with an iPad with a home button, press and hold the iPad until your apps start to wiggle. Or in this case, with our iPad here, we're going to press and hold the home screen, not where there's an app, until the apps all start to wiggle. After we do that, we're going to go to where the widgets are and see the plus symbol in the upper left-hand corner. We're going to hit that. And now we get a whole list of apps that can be added to our home screen. So let's add Spotify. I'm going to touch Spotify. And now it's going to ask me how I want it to look. So I can either have it as a player or have it as an icon. So we'll hit Add Widget, and it automatically adds it where it fits in. Now, some widgets can be full size or half size. Now, this widget just happens to be half size, and I'm going to hit that line in the upper left-hand corner to remove it because I don't want to keep that app. But let's go back here and let's add the weather app. Now it's giving me either a small view, a rectangular view, or a full view. So I'm going to hit Add Widget, and now it puts it on my dock. And I can press and hold it and move it around so I can control where it goes on my dock. So you have to keep it in this column, but it has to stay. You can arrange where you want to put it within the docking system. If you also see across the top, it says keep on home screen. If you turn that switch on, and then we're going to hit done to finish. When you scroll, it's always going to be on your first home screen. But if you don't want that and you turn the switch off, when you swipe to the left, the first swipe moves the widgets out of the way, and then you can continue swiping. So I tend to keep it on. I also don't need the weather app, so I'm going to remove that. And I'm going to hit done. And that's how you would add widgets. Now, the functionality within the widgets only exists based upon the functionality that you set up when you set up that app. So you only control the display of it when you're adding widgets and not the functionality. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you with regard to widgets is adding a smart stack. Smart Stack shows you relevant information throughout the day, such as weather, your next calendar event, or photos from your library. So to add Smart Stack to your home screen, we're going to make sure we're in landscape orientation, and then we're going to press and hold the screen in between apps, so we're not actually touching an app. They start to wiggle, and in the upper left-hand corner, we're going to hit the plus symbol, and then we're going to tap Smart Stack, and then we're going to add that widget, which is predetermined. And now you can see once we hit done, it has a bunch of information here that we can edit. So I'm going to we're going to press and hold the Smart Stack. Actually, we're going to hit done, press and hold just the Smart Stack, and then we're going to hit Edit Stack. And now we can have Smart Rotate on, so it'll automatically rotate through a certain period of time. And we can add or remove apps that are there. So to remove an app, we can actually change the orientation or what order the apps go in. Or if we want to remove one, we can slide to the left and delete those apps from the Smart Stack. So now we only have two things in our Smart Stack. So we press and long hold again. We can edit the stack and control what is there. Now, if we wanted to add to the Smart Stack, we're going to press and hold in between, hit the plus symbol, and we're going to hit Smart Stack, and we're going to see what is here, and we can add the widget, and we have a second Smart Stack there that has all these different things in there, and again, we can edit that. I don't need this Smart Stack, I don't need that one, but that's how you would add a Smart Stack. A new feature, they're relatively new, is something called dark mode. So dark mode supports turning on a darker theme with regard to how your iPad is displaying things. So to do that, we're going to go into settings, and we're going to go to display and brightness, and then we're going to check dark. And now you can see everything is dark and black. So I'm going to swipe up to go back to my home screen. Now all my widgets are dark. Some of my apps now have gotten dark that were bright before, and some people prefer this. This is great at night if you're trying to read in bed because it'll make the screen more black than bright, and it will probably help you a little bit going to sleep after you're looking at your device. There's two schools of thought on dark mode. Some people like it, some people hate it. It's just a matter of preference, and it's something you can explore. Okay, earlier I referenced the dock, or the floating dock as some people call it, on the bottom of your screen. That's the area where you see Libby and my photos and Google down here at the bottom. So you can add or remove apps to or from that dock back to your home screen. So I'm going to remove one of them now. I'm going to grab this and hold it and pull it off the dock. And now I put it here. I'm going to actually move it all the way back over here because I don't use that app very much anymore. So now that is one less app on my dock. So now let's say I wanted to add an app to my dock. Let's say I'm going to grab the App Store. I'm going to drag it and literally put it on my dock, and now it lives there. I can add even more if I want to. You can add a whole bunch of apps. I think that's your maximum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You can add 13 apps to that dock. I don't necessarily need Amazon there. I don't necessarily need Google there. And I don't necessarily need the App Store there. But I would like to have this here. Look at that. That works really well. So that dock is great for apps you use all the time. And you can then have them on your screen no matter where you are on your home screens. And to end the wiggling, either hit your home button or swipe up from the bottom, and you're good to go, and you're back to using your iPad. So here's a really good question. People ask all the time, Chris, which iPad do I have? So there's a really easy way to find that out. If you go to Settings and General and hit About, it will tell you what iPad you have. It gives you the model name. So you can see here, I have an iPad Pro 12.9-inch third generation. And this gives you more information as well. It gives you the name of your iPad, and you can rename your iPad anything you want. So we're going to rename this Chris Work iPad. And it gives you which version of OS you're running, and a whole bunch of other information like how many songs are on here, how many videos are on here, how many photos, the actual memory capacity of your device, and how much is it still available, and a whole bunch of other cool stuff. But that's how you find out which version of iPad you actually have. Okay, so I'm going to show you a way to scan documents when you don't have a scanner right with your iPad. So we're going to be using the Notes app, which is that app right there. We're going to open that, and in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see there's a camera. Touch the camera, and we're going to hit Scan Documents. And when we do that, we would hover our iPad over the document until the entire document is yellow. Hit the shutter button, just like taking a picture, and now you can see it's taken what looks like a picture of the document, and you can control the corners of the document. And when you're done, hit Keep Scan. And now there it is. And you have that scan. You can also rotate it if you want to. You can further crop it if you feel like you need to. And edit it in any way you want. And when you're done, hit Done. And it's saved to your Notes app. This next function is kind of simple, and it's been around for a long time, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention it. A lot of times you hear people talking about making a screenshot or taking a screenshot of their screen, which then saves it as an image in their photos. This is really easy to do, and if you have an iPad with a home button, you press and hold your power button, and then press and release your home button, and then release your power button, and it takes an image of whatever is on your screen. So as an example of that, let's go here and let's pick a picture. We'll pick this picture. So if you're doing it, like I said, with an Apple iPad with a home button, press and hold the power button and press and release the home button, and then you can let go of the power button and you'll hear it make a sound and it takes an image. Now, if you're using an iPad Pro where no home button is on your device, you're going to press and hold your power button and your up volume key. And now you see it's taken the picture. There's your picture. You can edit it, crop it, do whatever you want to it. And now it is, when you hit done, you can save it to Photos. And now if I go into my Photos app, the very last photo that I took is right there. Really simple, really easy. And then you can share it. You can text it to people if you want to. Hit Messages. And hit Send, and then off it goes. Really simple concept. a lot of fun and makes life a lot easier instead of trying to explain something, or if you want to share photos with people. This next functionality that I'm going to show you should relieve a lot of frustration if your screen times out too quickly. So let's say you're reading a book or you're reading a website and your screen times out after 30 seconds or a minute, and you have to keep retouching the screen or unlocking your screen again. This is how you can change how long the screen stays active before it starts to go to sleep. So basically we're going into settings, and then we're going to go down to display and brightness. We were there before for light mode, dark mode, remember that? And then you're going to go down to auto lock, and you're going to make a choice. So for iPad, the minimum is 2 minutes, then there's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or never. So here's the pluses and negatives to this. If you keep it at 2 minutes or 5 minutes, the screen will time out in 2 minutes or 5 minutes, which can be either a hassle or a blessing, depending on how often you're actually moving your screen around. When you get more into the 10-minute, 15-minute range, your battery probably won't last as long because your screen's going to stay on longer unless you physically hit that power button to time out your screen. And if you hit never, the screen is going to stay lit the whole time, and I guarantee you it's going to drain your battery really fast. So the sweet spot for me is 5 minutes because I'm usually going to touch my screen in between the first time I touch it and the next time I touch it usually is for less than 5 minutes. So again, your preference, it depends on what you want to do, but that is how you change how often your home screen or your screen goes dark. So those are all the tips and tricks we have for you this time. Thanks for watching, and remember, this program was brought to you by the studio at the Sachem Public Library in Holbrook, New York. To learn more about the studio and the services we provide, visit us at sachemlibrary.org/services-resources/studio. And you can also contact us via email at studio@sachemlibrary.org or call us at 631-588-5024, extension 230. My name is Chris, and thanks for watching.